So currently we don't have a quorum, but for the purpose of information sake, we can get rolling and allow updates to happen. We won't be able to move on anything officially or pass anything for that matter. But I still think it's prudent for us to move forward with information that the program management team had today.
Work session.
Work session. Work session. All right.
I missed the last meeting, so work session sounds good to me. So I get caught up.
Yeah, work session. Yeah.
We're getting more and more visitors.
That was your call.
Smaller rooms if you want.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not complaining about it, I'm just noticing that we're getting more and more.
Did you want to do the invitation for?
Sure. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We just invite you into this meeting to guide our discussion, and we're thankful for all these people that are working on behalf of the city and the staff and the leadership and the people on this board and the people who are here to report it. And just guide us through our discussion. Let us glorify you with our efforts, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay. This is a list right here. So the good thing about it is we can just roll through. We won't have to do any acceptance of the meeting. A real good place to start will be with where we are with our finances, and so we'll start with financial funding summary.
Good evening. We're going to pretty much go through the information as far as what was on the agenda, but however, like you said, that you won't be taking any action on items because of the form or whatever. But in reference to the financial, this is a report that we received from the financial department. All the board members, you all received a package on last Friday, and basically on that package, the revenues collected was $35,251,636.26. There was an interest earned of $58,226.09. The total is $35,309,862.35. The amount obligated as of today, as of this report, is $30,161,683. Unobligated amount is $5,148,179.35, and the amount that is currently spent is $4,278,968.78. And this is for more details for the commissioners. This is also part of tab 2 that you have in your packet. Can we move on? Okay. The next item that we want to talk about is I know this is a discussion, but we want to bring this up because this is going to be an item that we're going to be asking for the commission approval. The last item,
tab 3, right? With tab 3.
Yes, sir.
All right.
The last meeting, this item was tabled in reference to the Lynn Creek project. We didn't coordinate.
I don't think it was tabled. I think it was tabled. What we want to do it. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, but I think the last thing, the mayor tabled it. So I think the mayor tabled it it's in the minutes that it was tabled.
Yeah, I always go to the minutes because I don't remember a meeting a month ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But basically, we've been coordinating with the city, and based on the information for that project, we're going to be requesting for the commissioner this right here. And basically, I want you to look at everything that we're talking about before, and we can address questions or whatever. But we want to add the construction of the Lynn Street Drainage Improvement Project, FEMA project number 44081-0012, as an active project for the 1%. We want to move the $133,000 from the design to the construction and add $548,400 for construction. So that means the amount that's going to be obligated is going to be $680,450 for construction.
Okay, stop a minute. We've talked about this for about an hour before the last two meetings, so we know all that. Let's get.
Right.
If you're going to reimburse 75% of $2.5 million, it means FEMA's going to replace about $1.8 million, and the city's still going to be out $680,000. If you're going to reimburse the $680,000, where's the city getting that money from? Because that is the 25% match of the city. We've gone through this the last two meetings. I'll sit here and do it again if you want to. But you want to add $548,000. We originally approved $132,000 to design the project. We found out it's already under construction. And that 548 was obligated from the city 2 or 3 years ago. To tell us now that FEMA's going to reimburse 85%, that's 75% of $2.5 million. That means FEMA's going to reimburse about $1.8 million, $1.9 million. How are you going to reimburse the $680,000 back to 1%?
So, yeah, that's what he's gonna address.
Right, so basically, what we're saying is, when FEMA reimburses the city,
$1.9 million.
the city is going to reimburse the commission with the $680,450.
Out of what money? Just out of city money?
Out of the money that they receive from
Well,
FEMA.
wait, how you gonna pay the contractor then? We gotta pay the contractor that same money.
That's correct, Mr. Perry, but you also have money, have to have money up front to pay the contract. So, regardless, what we're asking the commission to do.
So you want to borrow,
just let
you
me
want to
finish.
borrow
Just let me
600.
finish. Yes, sir. Yes. In a nutshell.
I mean, that's what I want to try, we've been through the
Well,
detail, I just want to
that's
get
what-
down to the.
That's what we're trying to get to. So, what we're asking the commission is this, to allocate the 132, which was for design or construction, add the 548,450. The total of that is 680,450 to help with the federal side that the city is needed for the construction. When the city requests reimbursement for that 75%, the $680,450 will be credited back to the 1% account. That's what we're asking the commission.
All right. What would be the timing on that in the scheme of?
We would like to ask for reimbursement at the completion of the project, but in a meeting with finance, they would like for us to go ahead and request a reimbursement probably at the end of December. So we'll have three.
We'll let you do that even though it's still under construction.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to confirm that with the agency first, but that's most likely the route. If not, then when the project is completed, probably around the end of February, 1st of March, then we'll close the project out and then we'll request the 75%.
All right, not from the commissioner side, just from a nice city of Jackson. Well, so the city then is just gonna have to take $680,000 out of the general funds to pay back then?
No, sir.
Well, how's the city get $680,000?
We had already had some money set aside in 214.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So if you already got it set aside and just
Not the total amount though,
just trying to help me understand, if you had it set aside, why do you have to borrow it here?
because we didn't have enough funds to cover the
All right,
entire.
well then the amount you're gonna be short, where does it come from? I mean, you don't have enough
we're
funds.
asking for the 1%.
Yeah, but they're gonna pay it back in a month. When you pay it back, where you gonna get the money to pay it back from?
That's reimbursed.
You're gonna have to pay Fordyce Construction Company $2.5 million, right? Basically,
Yeah, give it to you.
yeah, give or take. So that money's gone to them, and FEMA's gonna give you back $1.9 million. So that's reimbursing what you're paying Fordyce Construction with. And I guess that's coming out of.
We have enough money with the $680,450 to cover the design. To cover the construction contract.
Okay.
So, all thing we're doing is the federal side, which is $750,000, which is like 1.9, whatever.
Federal side, 750. Federal side,
75%.
75%.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So,
$1.9 million, yeah.
regardless, when we request reimbursement, we will reestablish that money back
To the 1%.
to the 1%.
One more little simple question. If you're gonna reimburse, if you're gonna request that in December, and we can't approve it at this meeting, so it's gonna be a week or two at best before we can approve it. You're gonna need that money for 2 weeks in order to make this whole thing work out?
No.
Say that.
Okay. So we can move to the next slide, we can skip the next slide, we just have a summary of that, what we just talked about right there. But the next slide that we're gonna talk about is, the last meeting, it was some questions asked about the equipment that was used for the, potholes that we have. And so what we're doing is we're coordinating with the city and, talking about that. You can talk about it.
Yes, the city regularly gets the 311 calls for potholes or utility cuts. So they could be, in the last meeting was asked for update, what work was done. We can compile data about 12,009 potholes were filled for the month of October. The equipment purchased from one side. And the details where the potholes were filled are on tab 4. The location where the street and that no location. And about 65 utility cuts were done in the month of October. And from moving on, we will be presenting the data for what work was done in every month the following month.
Is that being done with 1% money? If so, from where?
Not all.
No, that's just-
I didn't think so. That's just basically city maintenance.
Yeah.
That's just city
Yeah,
routine maintenance. That's what I was thinking.
right.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
One thing we're doing is we're providing you what, that new equipment is doing. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, these items right here,
One more clarification. We did use some 1% money for utility cuts, didn't we?
That's
Certain
right.
days, but that's been spent.
That's it.
What's going on since then is just regular.
Yes.
Same,
General manager.
same form. What I thought.
Yes, sir.
all right, the next three items that we wanted to talk about is pretty much, they're a link together, pretty much. We need all of these three items, actions to be taken on all of these three items by the commission in order to make this program work effectively and efficiently. So basically what we're gonna do is, there's been talk about the master plan, and of course, we had some year 2 projects that we want to talk about. And our last time we was here, we talked about the pavement assessment that we received, which is more objective pavement assessment. So we're going to talk about these three items, and we'll discuss those. Trinity's going to talk about the master plan first.
We all know the genesis of preparing a master plan. The commission and the city have worked hand with each other for preparing a master plan. This is from the final levels of the rules, which clearly states that the master plan is required for all infrastructure improvements. And the commission, with the input of the city, shall finalize the master plan.
Sure.
And the city input is, in fact, if you go back in the 2015, we have a first it's called infrastructure master plan, which was done in 2015, in which only the year 1 projects were finalized. And after that, in May 2016, a draft CMP, which is basically a city input, was prepared in May 2016, in which project was finalized, project was identified in water, wastewater, roads and drainage, and roads and bridges and drainage. And these are the approximate costs which was estimated in May 2016 based upon the projects identified. These are not the final costs. The master plan has to be updated, has to be revised and finalized. This is a draft master plan which was presented in 2016. It was prepared, it was not really presented, it was prepared in 2016. And it was sent out to all council members and commission members. What we want to do, discuss with the commission was to plan what we call a path forward. The city input was in the form of a draft master plan done in May 2016. How do we actually build from that master plan moving forward? Because we all know that we need to have a master plan for implementation for projects for the next 5 years or 20 years. So our recommendation is modify the 2016 draft plan. We call it draft plan because it is never discussed. The main idea, the intent of this discussion is how to move forward to tomorrow. Our proposal is the revised draft master plan, water information we have 2016. Basically, the update shall be needed for the roads and bridges sector because now we have the payment analysis report which came in October 2016. And what we are suggesting is let's formulation of an IMP team or some sort of subgroups where with the commission, where we can work with the commission members, specifically focusing from each subgroup on one subgroup on water, one subgroup on roads and bridges, one subgroup on drainage, and come back again and then finalize the master plan at a later date. Present it and finalize it at a later date. That is our approach. We want to discuss the commission and take the feedback on how to move forward. we can formulate small subgroups to work with the commission, because ultimately we need to have a master plan, if not today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, at one point in time.
Now, based on what he's talking about in reference to the master plan, like he said, that the the 2015 project was used initially to start the program off, but moving forward with the other projects, there were some projects that basically the city decided to do with the 2016 year 2. And so we wanted to talk about that because that's going to be a part of the master plan. Basically, this is a list of all the projects that was recommended to the agency. I think it was back in March of this year. There was meetings, there was several meetings that was held with the commission and the city, work sessions talking about different projects like the Operation Orange Cone. West Streets was going to be selected for that, even the major streets and different things like that. And out of those work sessions, this is a list of some of the things, and you can go to the next slide pretty much. From that year 2, 2016, these are the currently active projects that we have, which is greening the gateways for the West County Line Road, greening the gateways for the State Street, the Operation Orange Cone neighborhood street improvement, and the Operation Orange Cone major street improvements. So basically, those are the streets that's from the year 2. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Is that in this book?
Yes, sir. It's in there.
Where's the slide presentation?
It's not, all this stuff is not in this book, actually. The slide presentation is not that you find.
Yes, sir.
It's in tab 1. It's in tab 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tab 1, and maybe we skip over.
All right.
Okay. When we jump to tab 2, when we jump to tab 2, we did go back.
We didn't go back, right?
All right.
So it is in there, right?
What's that?
Yes.
Okay.
The tab 1 is the presentation. On the back of material is in from tab 2.
Tommy, go back to the previous slide and just kind of let them see the outline of that right there. Yeah. Year 2.
And like I said, this was presented earlier this year, and pretty much we wanted to. If you notice that every presentation that's been held since that, this slide pretty much been a part of all your materials. You go back and look at all your material. This slide has been a part of your material.
No. The stuff that we did back in March, we did talk about the Mill Creek Bridge, and we were doing the engineering for that out of the urgent needs. But, these other bridges and $3 million stormwater engineer, it might have been in the paperwork, but it was not discussed. And these water projects, how many that is, $3 or $4 million, might have been in some lists we were given, but that's never been discussed as far as, what we're going to do, yes, no,
Right. I think that's what we're doing now.
It might have been something that handed out then, but that's never, those projects have never been discussed.
Yes, and that's what we wanted to do. I think, as a matter of fact, the last meeting was in the material we wanted to discuss, but we ran out of time.
Right.
So we put it back in now in order for us to discuss this. So that's the list, and moving forward, like that.
Let me go back and ask one on that just a second.
Okay.
That $3 million stormwater engineering, I thought we just did a $375,000 engineering contract. What's the difference in the two? Didn't the city finally last month give out an engineer and a $375,000 contract that came out of what we approved back in May of 2015? So what's the difference in that 375 and this 3 million?
So, the 375 contract, what we're talking about, is talking about the stormwater strategy and studies. This is for the future work for our decrees for the construction.
Oh, that's what, but we don't, well, how do we know that if we ain't got the report yet?
So these are the budgeted numbers which were there. These are not the estimated. These are the budget numbers which were there in the previous functioning material. These were not discussed, as you rightly said. These were not discussed.
So that's just pulling a $3 million number out of our rear end. But the bridge projects, say, or whatever extra projects, that's just throwing a number into the budget.
No, sir. It's based upon the master plan, which was prepared. Draft master plan was done, and some money was allocated. But it's not never discussed. As I said, these numbers are the working numbers.
Let me go back and ask you again. If I look at the North Mill Street Bridge, that $1,012,000, we know basically where that came from. There's the contract had to deal with that. Somebody did an estimate on the Monument Street Bridge or McDowell Road Bridge, but the $2,935,900 for stormwater is just a reach up and grab a number and throw it to a budget. I mean, how did we come up with that number if the engineering study hadn't been done?
The city had a stormwater master plan in 2013. It estimated work for each creek, and that is a long-term investment. There's a short-term and long-term project has to be taken up based upon the master plan. So these numbers flow from the master plan.
From 2013, the stormwater master plan. So there was one in place. These numbers could potentially change based on right. But this is what we know. This is what's been budgeted for, and this budget is subject to change, possibly up or down. But I'll assume that it's better to have numbers to see than to put in NA. So we'll at least know based on the numbers that we had, data that we had 3 years ago, to be able to move forward. For a discussion. All right. All right, Ms. Amen.
All right, so of course we talked about the project that came out of that was approved, but we wanted to talk about a couple items that we want to recommend for the request for the commission moving forward. The first project is that was a McDowell Road Bridge on the 135.
Right.
If you look at that sheet previous, you'll see that the rating of that bridge was, I think it was 13.9.
Right, and we were aware that this would be coming soon because we talked about it in conjunction with the conversation about the Robinson Road Bridge.
Yes, sir. So, and that's the reason why we got into the background. You see that that's pretty much on that same path as that same creek.
Okay, let me ask a question. When we looked at bridges in April and May of 2015, we had a chart in there that had like 31 bridges. We were told there's 150 something odd bridges in the city. And we were told then that we didn't have ratings on them. Since then, we learned that the city and the state goes around and rates them every year or every other year or something like that. How in the world should we prioritize and say, yeah, we agree with you that bridge number 135 is the one we ought to do, when we hadn't seen the ratings on the other 149 bridges in the city?
No, we've had ratings. We've had ratings on these bridges. Yeah, we've had ratings on these bridges a couple of times from Hinds County.
That's what I'm saying. We've learned that we do have ratings. But when we had that discussion back then, because I asked about it, and Keisha, who is gone, said that we didn't have them all. But then we turned to find out, the county goes and rates them every year, and MDOT rates a certain number of them. So we do have ratings.
Yeah.
But we don't have them. This commission's not had them. And I would like to see them, just like we learned last meeting, that this Stantac report's been sitting here, and we've been told we didn't have any listing of anything on the street. I'd like to see a rating of all the bridges.
Well,
maybe
I'm privy to information that I assumed everybody else was too. But when we did this bridge, this McDowell Road Bridge, when we did the ride along 2014-ish, 15, 14, this was one of the bridges that we sat and stood and watched move when cars went across it. So I always wondered why the hell we hadn't seen the bridge on here before now.
I've heard you talk about that bridge.
And so, and I hear you.
And understand me, I'm not arguing against this bridge.
I'm not either. I'm not arguing.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that this
Arguing
ought not
period.
be a good bridge. I'd just like to see the rest of the rating.
Yeah, I just assumed that we had the bridge conversation. Okay.
We had that one little chart that's got like 30 of them that showed the rating.
That's what I'm thinking about.
And I asked at that time, I said, Mill Street, what's the big one?
Main Street?
Main Street.
Yeah.
But Main Street's number 9. Why aren't we doing that? And I asked, well, because it's.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about.
But that chart had like 30.
You were looking for the
bar charts.
150.
And we were told there's 150, but that only had like 30 on it.
But moving forward, we'll make sure we give you ratings of every one of the bridges.
Yeah, but I think though, if I could be mistaken, but I think those show anything that was under.
That's
50.
what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we got the ratings for everything below 50,
Right.
while there were ratings for the other 120 maybe, but the other 120 would be good to see.
And I think for context, it's also important to remember that during that time, we were still in the process of trying to establish projects that you could actually work on. And so we were looking at critical needs first.
Okay.
That's just a reminder.
All right.
And based on what Mr. Smash is saying, that this is a critical project. Because, they're gonna, say pretty much last time when we did the inspection on the Robinson Road Bridge, we had a conversation with Dr. Williams about closing that bridge on the weekend. We closed that bridge, and then right after that, the bridge collapsed.
Yeah.
So this bridge right here, the state aid is going to be, the county is going to be doing another inspection on that bridge probably next month or within the next month. They're going to be submitting a report to state aid. Now, it could possibly end up going to the closed status. So.
Yeah, and the issue with this bridge is that it's more than just an inconvenience to people trying to get home. Okay, so we're not talking about hanging moss bridge that just made people mad because it took them an extra 6 minutes to get home. This is a 4-lane, not to include the turning lane, street, and there are major businesses there. And what we can't afford to have happen with this one is for this bridge to go out of commission before there's an appropriation for funding to immediately start work on it. Because if that happens, then we're looking at this prolonged same deal that we're dealing with on Robinson Road, where the bridge has been out since March, and we're going on a year without a
Yes,
program administration.
The program administration is basically taking all the tasks, which includes coordinating the design consultants, and we are attending the design consultants meeting, design meetings, we're having the field meetings, just like we had a conflict of that, bridge inspection, etc. So all that work, what we do with the 16 crore design consultants which are being done, assisting the city public works department as we move on into the project. That part of all the program administration. The program documents, what we have in front of you is one example. In the first year, we also prepared the program management plan, how to implement the program, which includes how do we coordinate with design consultants and how do we coordinate with the city, the status report templates, etc., etc. So that is the program, prepared program documents part of it. The Coordinates Commission, which we regularly do every month, prepare status report for the commission, and also update the commission members whenever we get a calls or regular intervals. That's subtasks.
Okay.
The task what we have is basically all of the subtasks which we do on a day-to-day basis, basically. Progress reporting. You have seen our progress report at the end of every month. We submit a status report. Along with that, we say what work was done in the entire program, in each project. That's progress report.
Sure.
And the second task is implementation of the CIP, which includes the updating the CIP projects based upon the priority, identifying the priority scores, and update the master plan, or preparing the PMIS based upon the payment analysis report, what was done earlier. That's a proposal. And so these are the identified tasks which can be done. These are not the, we can delete or we can add on tasks to that. These are the identified tasks which can be clubbed under the broad heading of CIP implementation. The third one is the IMP technical support, basically project development. Example, just now if they're asking, there's a question raised about how do we estimate the cost of water and sewer for any specific project or for any other project. So that's basically project development. Doing the preliminary analysis, that becomes part of project development. The preparation of RFP and RFQ. If the example is if the McDowell Road is approved in this meeting, we are preparing RFP. So we'll be working with the city to prepare RFP and helping the public department in calling for the bids and the reviewing the proposals, and also identifying how the criteria has to be there and what experience has to be there. That's part of the RFP process. That's part of the task which was included as part of the IMP technical support. The urgent needs, which was included in the last year also.
Well, I'm sorry. So could I assume that technical support is also like augmented.
The existing public department.
Okay. Okay.
The urgent needs was included last year too, because there was a need at certain point of time. If the project has to be done, with the example neighborhood streets, if we had to go out and rate the streets, and we had to come with the project, shelter projects, which we had done last year, and we did the rating on the scale, and we identified the streets was to be done on operation on stone. So all the tasks of identifying the projects and identifying what work has to be done fall on the urgent needs.
So back to augmentation. So them doing the urgent needs piece keeps y'all from having to come off of projects to do all those pieces on the urgent need. Or are you still having to do that?
Well, that urgent need, I think, needs to be a little bit more defined, maybe not called urgent need, because, are we going to, I don't think the intent was for us to request them to do any type of design. Maybe spot CNI services, provide us with technical guidance as it relates to, certain projects that may come up. It may be, we get a storm coming in and we need assistance, technical assistance in helping us prepare, quick specifications to get out for bids, those types of things. So, that particular area could be probably discussed a little bit further to make sure. But, I don't know, just the urgent need.
Well, but so whether we call it urgent need or not, I guess I just want to be sure that if that's what's happening there, that's not causing you to have to come off of a project that we're hoping to get pushed out in the next 2 months in order to deal with this urgent need that's come up. Other than to deal with it from an ivory tower.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
Right?
That's what that would do. And I think that also segues into the work that has been done this year, which is also a basis for how you would, justify the work going forward and support that.
Yes, sir. To add on, the last year, the term bids were prepared for the neighborhood streets and major streets. That was done as part of that. We prepared the term bid document. We prepared the term bids for the pothole repatching. So the 3 term bids were done. We helped the city out. So that's the work which we have done as part of the last year program. The neighborhood streets document was done with the city, but when we came on board when the bidding was done. So from there onwards, we helped the city.
Sure.
Here's a question. So, what services are how are these services in year 2 different than the services in year 1?
They are a continuation of the existing services in year 1.
No, but they cost twice as much. So, are you doing more work?
More work.
Last year when we started the program, you were in the process of selecting consultants. And a part of last year, we made sure that scopes were done with those consultants. We made sure that we had a budget for those consultants. We made sure that we coordinate with the city to make sure the contracts were done with those consultants. Now we are coordinating with those consultants on not just a monthly basis, but a weekly basis to make sure that the progress of those projects is done. So now those projects are increasing as you go. Like, say, for instance, for year 1, most of the project was in the design phase. Now you're going to construction phase, and we're talking about...
Wait. We're probably not going to construction phase for a lot of those. That was one of the things we had to discuss here. We talked about the last 2 meetings, that we approved a lot of design work that we're looking at it now, looking at the budget. We not be it because the design work's costing 4 times what we cost in the construction is, that we've got to go back there and look at some of those projects and say, should we stop looking at these as being priority? And we never prioritize those for being construction. The reason it was only design, and you weren't here at the time of that meeting, so I heard you this. We were saying, we didn't get a chance to prioritize things. This list just given to us. Well, we'll do the design for this year, and then we'll look at it once we have more information. There is no commitment by this commission that those projects that are under design right now, the next one's fixing to go into construction. And so I don't think it's fair to assume that all those that are out there with design are going to construction, because we took the money from the design work for those 9 or 10 drainage projects and put it over to construction. So I'm assuming that design work stopped. I don't know. One of the questions I have to ask today. because we never had anything to prioritize those are not necessarily the priority for the next projects going to construction. I think it's not fair to assume that all those people in construction, so your work will be twice as busy. To answer your question, if we went back and just said this in year 3, do the same thing we did in year 2, and spend $15 million on road repair, then you don't have a whole bunch of consultants to deal with, and a whole bunch. You got 2 contractors. If we did the same thing we did this time, so.
Well, I also think, and you're right, you're absolutely right, but I think what we need to do is, what we thought we'd be able to do today, is to look at what the planned projects are for 17 to include both design and construction, and then we can make that determination. Right now, we don't know what we would approve, which is the commitment that you're talking about.
I think we've got to go back and, I think first step is we've got to go back and look at those May of 2015 projects that had a whole bunch of engineering work started and say, what do we want to do with them? Because we still listen to that $50 million worth of construction is what we're fixing to spend, but we never prioritize those as this commission to go to construction.
Nor do we have $50 million.
And nor do we have $50 million. But that's minor detail.
Minor detail.
And all of that goes into the larger conversation of ultimately approving 2017. So if we will get to the approval through the process like you talked about, which is what IMS and city staff has been saying we need to push forward. So all of those things we need to know in order to make an informed decision about 2017.
On this urgent needs, would everything that's under your category of urgent needs actually just also be under program management over there? Because it's not to the urgent needs category where we had $2 million to be spent. I mean, are those type things that go on?
I think that's why Dr. Williams was saying he doesn't like to use that term.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That applies just as much over under program management.
Yeah, really what you see in that column is augmentation of staff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really what that is.
Yeah.
So,
So to my point, which was, if that column is going to remain, I wanted to be sure that true bona fide augmentation of staff was happening to justify that. Or let's move it into a column that it makes more sense without it being called urgent needs. That's all. All right, go ahead.
And to be honest with you, I think that even with the urgent need, that that might be an emergent project that you don't know what might happen. Is that safe? So that you might need it or you might not need it, just according to whatever circumstances, situation.
Got it. Thank you.
But now, also to that, the question was asked, well, why are the fees more now? The program is ramping up. I mean, you started at a certain level, but the program is ramping up. We got a lot.
Yeah, and again, when it's time the program is only as ramped as that 2017 approved document. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when we stamp a 2017 go ahead, then what we're saying is this is monetize what we're approving, and once it's monetized, then we can say, yeah, that's actually 1.5, or we'll say, well, no, that's 1.2. But right now we're saying 1.5 because we were given a general idea of what should be going on during the second year of the program. And so what we're saying is, to help us justify whatever we approve, we simply want to be able to say, here's what 2017 looks like for drainage, for streets, for this, for this. Here are the approved projects, because we know we got money to fix them. We know we got money that will actually get them done. Because if we're going to say, so for example, I'm still on pins and needles about these doggone major streets, right? So I'm thinking in my mind, because we're in the rainy season now, that Raymond Road, that because the contract had 240 days, he'll probably take 240 days to do them. But did you get paid for the work for that in this contract? And if so, you got paid for something that didn't take place. And that's what I think Mr. Perry is saying. And that's what just look at this as practice, but when you get across the street, and this has to actually get approved, okay? This is just practice, and you're going through a dry run. Because what we know is that we ultimately have to approve some kind of a budget for program management. But what we don't know is what that budget is, because we don't know what we actually intend to get done.
Nor do I don't think we know what we spent in 2015 or 2016.
And what he said. Which goes back
which
to
is
my
really hard
which
to talk
goes back to
about
my
that.
question about the major street project.
And, you know, I want to see what we got for our $840,000. I mean, I'd like this breakdown we're going through now, but I got some
Go,
questions.
which is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
About the major streets. There's a part of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say that.
We're running out of time.
Yeah, and I got a whole bunch of other little things going
I
on.
saw that.
No, I had a couple things going on.
I figured that. Come on.
The other task, the one which we will be doing is completion of the GS maps. When we came on board, for the first question was, can we have a map score showing all the files, showing on different sections, different walls, different projects. I think we have done that in year one. There were maps given in every commission report. That's a continuation task for year two, updating the various maps as we move on. And the maps are also posted on the open data website, so maps are available for everybody. So
Are they interactive yet? Because are we moving to where we can actually? Okay, let me ask the question another way. Leroy and I were in a meeting the other night, and a constituent was talking about an SSO that's occurring in his backyard every time it rains. And I know that, EPA and DEQ, we need to address that as fast as we possibly can. And we were talking about flow monitoring. Is there a way through GIS and through flow monitoring for us to be able to eyeball that? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Support services. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just getting back to the fee, and I realize we don't have to back up to the fee, but I mean, I'm just curious, maybe this is a first grade question. Do y'all bill by the hour? I mean, how do you kind of come up with this, this fee?
Okay, well, I'm going back to the first year. There was a $840,000 budget, all right, based on coordination with the city. We identified things that we need to do. We gave them a breakdown hourly of what those things were, but those were just a projection. We couldn't exceed that $840,000. So regardless of if we told them that we were projecting 40 hours and it ended up being 80 hours, we was only going to get paid for 40 hours. So that's pretty much how we did it. We started from a zero-based budget, and we projected that for how much time we're going to, just like we were talking about the projects, how much time is it going to take for each one of those projects and the staff that is going to be required. To give you a good prime example, right now you're doing operational. We got a person out in the field every day. When that contractor is working, that person is working every day. So there's an hourly rate based on that person doing that work. The coordination with the contractor. You got a project manager designated to work with that contractor to make sure that everything is going on, coordinating with the schedule, different things like that. So basically, we developed the budget projecting what it's going to be. But now, the cost is lump sum. So like I said, right now we could have incurred more than 840, but we can't bill over that.
So it says hourly not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
If you don't use as many hours, it's not going to be less either. So it's, So I'm just curious, did y'all use all the hours you had allocated?
Absolutely, and more. More.
And the next
I mean, Dr. Williams and Mr. Smash can attest for it. I think that, we need a badge for being over here as part of the city.
See, look, and that's when I said earlier, I was trying to help you. What I was saying was, and it wasn't a first grade question. It was to my point. If you're not involved, you don't do this. Like probably in the room and at this table, probably these two may have an idea because you do it and work with it. Have an idea of really what that means. I wouldn't have thought that there was a person who has an hourly wage who has to be out there. I wouldn't have known that. So what I'm saying, I'm trying to help you out. Help me help you by knowing what's going on.
How much is that hourly wage for that person sitting out there on that job? How much y'all billing per hour for that guy that's out there on operation hours contract? I know the answer, but
I can't remember exactly, but maybe $65 an hour.
I think it's 78, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So for $78 an hour, you could have full-time employees sitting over here at DPW that would be doing that.
Well, but then I gotta
I'm just saying,
pay
I'm
the
just-
insurance. I gotta pay.
I understand that, I understand that.
But let me just say
I
this.
totally understand.
But let me just say about the importance of that person having the
Oh, yeah.
I'm not arguing about the importance of person.
Oh no, yeah. Pete gets not having the government too big.
Yeah. But my whole point is that person is not just out there just twiddling his thumbs, just watching that.
I know what he's doing.
This person is making sure that person is doing it within accordance with the plans and specs. He making sure he taking.
We're not debating that. We
We're
get
not debating
that.
that.
We get that. We get it.
Yeah.
We get it. We just.
Okay.
Just asking what most people would get that.
Okay.
All right, we're ready, man.
The support services, we are coordinating with the city administration on daily basis to finalize the newsletters, to prepare all the communication materials, what we talked about, the open data, just yesterday.
I've got a question for you. I know what that, there's these nice newsletters in the back of last month's thing. That gentleman was in my office today saying, we ought to be publicized more. I pointed out to him that these are printed nice, 8-color brochures, whatever, but I've never seen one except for sitting in this room. I've never seen one anywhere else in Jackson. How are these distributed? Where are they going? Who gets them? Because nobody I know of has seen them.
Well, that's part of my fault because we restricted a lot of that budget.
But we're still printing them.
Well, we're printing them for y'all, but to
We
your
don't need a
point about.
newsletter. I'm talking about the newsletter.
I'm talking about the entire budget for outreach. So we restricted that a lot so that we talked about big signs. So I know that folks want to be able to see our names on there saying we're doing this and doing that. But when the question is, do you want big signs or do you want to actually be able to push this out? I had to respond what we really needed to do. So now, whoever will be contracted to do it, we want to make sure that they've got the appropriate amount so that that ain't a problem.
Why is that not part of the city regular public relations department?
Because I got one lady who's doing it. I just got cut 3 more people during the last budget cycle. I was threatening to get cut another $80,000. I'll take any help I can get.
That's
Now, what would be a good idea if y'all want to help us is you start spending that money with our publications department. I'm just saying.
I don't know that I care about spending it all, because I don't, if people seeing the street paved is more important to them than the people seeing the picture out it's going to be paved. I'd rather spend that $75,000 on another.
That's one street. That's
one street.
Yeah.
That's one street. Those people on that one street be happy.
Well, we're gonna outvote you on that one, Pete.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we will. Come on.
But I'll be honest with you, the newsletter
Block of water on that, yeah. Block of
it's
water.
showing some positive things that we are doing with this program.
What is it showing it to, though?
I mean,
That's the point, Pete. Because it's a restricted budget, it can't. You don't get it out to as many people. We're only walking into neighborhood meetings with 20 people in them and giving it to them because we only have a certain amount. My recommendation. Huh?
You posted on the
We
website.
do. We post it on the website. We post it on the.
So the media is getting it off the website.
The media,
That's the main thing.
they're getting it from the website. They're getting it from all 3 social media outlets that we use. They get it off of the open data portal. They get it when Iris and the rest of my folks go out to the community. They get it when Leroy walked in the other night to a neighborhood meeting with a handful of them. So they're getting them that way, but they're not able to get them the way that we were sent when we got the $250,000 from JCVB to do magazines and send them to 15,000 homes. Because that budget is just not there to do it. So, I mean, either we want to do it or we don't, and that commitment will be seen in whatever budget we pay.
Yes, sir, to add on to that, yesterday we were on to call on our board meeting, so we passed the newsletters there. We were presenting about the program. So there's neighborhood meetings, and Iris, you can add on. She has an email list which will send it to some people. And then we had the public information workshop in September. There are a lot of newsletters which were given at the time. And tomorrow they have a second public information workshop. So we'll be giving the newsletters and the annual reports tomorrow to all the general public. We're coming to those public information meeting.
Sure. All right.
This is the tentative outline of what are the subtasks involved in the whole program action task. We want to go to the next item too, which is the
Pavement analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get to that.
In the last commission meeting, it was requested that we should review the report and come with some sort of approach, and we reviewed the report. Basically, the entire work was done on the entire city streets of the 900 miles. What was done was they coming up with a pavement quality index, the PQI, based upon the work done by Stantec, based upon the field measurements. It consists of how much is the riding quality index. Basically, it talks about if you go at 20 miles per hour speed, how comfortably you are riding the street. The different segments, these are all industrial standards. Basically, they calculate the RCI, the SDI, SAI, and they finally come with the concept of regulation for remaining service life. That is, whether the street has how many years or more we can still use the street without any rehabilitation work. We came with a two-step approach after reviewing the report. This is actually the summary of the existing condition. Definitely, all of us wants to have a smiley face that we want all the streets to have a PQ value of 55. That's the industrial standard of 55. If it's over 55, that means the street is good. But most of the streets right now, the average city street rating is 40.4, which is in the poor in the subjective classification. And almost 70% of the streets have less than 55. That's pretty dire situation, isn't it?
How does that compare to we were using like a 100, 200, 300, 500, whatever. How does this compare to that? We said we're going to pave all roads that were under 300, or that was going to be the priority. So what is 300 on this?
This rating right here is more objective rating.
Yeah, but what's the relationship between the two?
The relationship between the two is, of course, it might vary once you get to certain numbers, but you can look at 10 as being 100, 50 as being 500, and so on and so forth.
Except that 500 was the biggest number on that other list. 500 was the top.
The 500 is the middle. Like the
0,000.
Yeah, we just didn't have any that were
There
above
were two lists.
500.
There's one that used 1,000, one that used 500, but there were two different lists. I got a bigger question. If we had this report from Stantec that started in 2013 and came to the city sometime this summer, and we knew that was out there, why did we pay y'all to go out there and reevaluate them again this summer?
Because we didn't have the full report.
Well, but you had access to them with what they've done. They had finished all the work. All we had to do was ask them.
We didn't have the full report, Mr. Perry. I think that, you can look at it from that perspective, but you want
Well, let me ask it a different way before you finish.
Okay.
We knew it was coming. And if we knew it was coming, we could have waited from them going out and doing it until we had it.
No.
Except we didn't know it was coming.
No, I don't think we could have waited. I think that what you're going to see is that regardless of, you have a more subjective report that takes a little bit out, takes some of the human quality out of it to make it more effective. But your streets are still poor. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
So you still have to repave them. So the methodology that we used, I would say, was not incorrect. It provided you with a methodology to move forward with those streets that were selected. Now, what you have here is a report that gives you a thorough evaluation and analysis of the streets. And what you can do now is you can say anything that is below a 40, which is
Maintaining these streets and determining exactly when it's going to come back around to that cycle of redoing those streets. So we got to implement a pavement management plan. So what we're talking about doing is developing this pavement management plan along with the commission team that you select for this master plan implementation. And one of the main important things is to develop some type of policy guidelines for rehabilitating these streets. And you can talk a little bit about that.
We know that the streets are number one priority of all capital projects. What we're actually suggesting is if we can develop some sort of policy guideline that 50% of money of the program can be, it's a policy guideline, we're not talking about the rules or regulations, that 50% or 60%, whatever number is, can be spent on streets. Or the other way to look at it is we have to repave certain miles of streets every year or every quarter. That's a policy guideline. That's the objective we want to achieve. We want to have developed that goal. We know that our goal is 250, but definitely we can't do all 250 in 1 month or 2 months or 2 years. So we want to put up a benchmark where we want to achieve in a quarter, 6 months from now, or a year from now. I think that's what we want to develop the commission, identify, and that becomes a target for us, basically. We know the target is 250, but definitely we are not working towards 250 as a day one.
Right.
We're working at a smaller target, which is achievable and which is realistic and which is high priority.
And how do you think that helps us with asphalt companies in terms of how they see us as a priority?
We got you covered right there.
Well, come on with it.
That's on the next slide.
Come on with it.
Okay. So basically, the first recommendation that we was going to request is that, like, say, for instance, using that step one that we was talking about, the immediate approach. And of course, like, say, for instance, that with the RSF, or remaining service life of the 0. The program manager in the city will verify those streets. The final streets will be provided to the commission for approval to advertise for construction for the first quarter of 2017. What we want to do is we want to put out multiple packages. Say, for instance, it could be by ward, it could be 7 packages or whatever, but we're going to bundle those up, and we're going to make sure that it's not just a term bid, but it's going to be an actual bid for a selective amount of streets that the commission approves. And so, say, for instance, so you was asking the case about being priority. Say if we have 7 packages and you have one contractor that won 2 of those bid packages. When we issue that notice to proceed, each one of those contractors is going to be independent. So he's going to be responsible for doing that in a certain time period. And if he doesn't meet that time period, we're going to assess liquidated damages on it. So you won't have this contractor that you're doing for the whole entire city, all the wards, and he said, well, I'm working in Ward 1 now. I'm working in Ward 2, 3, or 4. He's going to be responsible for doing that.
Now we won't have to worry about that crap about deployment fees and all of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's the best thing I heard.
Yes, sir. So this is what we're recommending for the second step. And the next approach that we're recommending is moving forward with the whole entire program is using that pavement management system along with the data from the entire report that they have. Because, like I said, you got to manage that data. So although we're talking about a remaining service life of 0 now, just think next year or this year and the year to come, you might have a remaining service life of 2. So 2 years from now, that means that payment is going to have a remaining service life of 0. So basically, we got to make sure that we have some type of program in place that we can implement the improvements of those roads.
I had to ask you a question, Leroy.
What you just said, if this was the one with 0 and it was in 2013, that's when the contract started, when did they finish doing that analysis? In 14 or 15? What year would you say they finished measuring all of them by?
They finished the field work in 2013.
They finished the field work in 2013?
Yes, sir. But however, the program that they have, it projects pretty much the rating of that road.
Okay, if the numbers in this bid report shows a 3-year service life, then it ought to be 0 now?
Yes, sir. You're right theoretically.
Okay, so because they finished the field work, determined this 13. Can I suggest that we add to this list anything that's in that report as a 3 or less? Because that at least brings us to today's 0 service life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, then the package is sticker.
I understand, but it's still a 0, but it's still giving them on a uniform level, 0 service life.
We have all 0.
But what we're saying is,
I understand what you're talking about the year after that. I'm just trying to get us right now to start with.
right, this thing is going to cover everything that you're talking
The
about.
pavement management system.
That's what
So,
Got that in it.
I want to ask Leroy a question. What drives your pavement management program right now? 311?
Yeah, 311.
All right. So right now, we got a pavement management program that's driven by folks fussing about their streets. And then we go back and we look at data, and then we try to push it through here. I'm all for some kind of technology that helps us to be able to not only know where we are now, but to project out, like you're saying, and to be able to make some decisions about how we prioritize. Because if we're just going to do year by year, these are the streets we're going to do year by year, then that doesn't help us. We're at an advantage if we've got software that helps us to project out 3, 4, 5 years so that we can prioritize. Even coordination with replacing water lines and stuff like that, which at some point we'll have to have a real conversation about not just having a certain amount terms of budget for the streets, but that's another story. Go ahead.
I think that's basically all we have. We want to present.
All right.
Can somebody give us an update of what the status of the neighborhood orange cones is? What did they finish? Are they gonna come back and work in the spring? Do we know? All that discussion we had last meeting?
We finished Ward 7. Where were we?
No.
Did we finish Ward 7?
Yeah, currently they're in Ward 7. We met with the contractor. He has agreed to extend his contract till March 17th with no additional fees as far as the amount. He said that the contractor stated that he will be working, and if the weather permits, they're not shutting down the plant, so they'll be working until that time is. And I think the next ward that he's going to be moving to is Ward 3.
Yeah.
After 7.
One is that's it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
There's some streets in Ward 7 that they got started on. They milled it, they patched a little bit. And I know one of them, the milling machine, I assume is what caused it, created a water leak. Or two of them, there's one over there off of Mill Street, and one in Bellhaven, and one somewhere else. I guess they're waiting till the water line is fixed before they can come back, but are they still planning on going back and finishing that half Mill Street?
Yes, sir, they are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming they're waiting until the water line gets fixed.
Yes, sir. We're waiting for the water line to fix. And, I think they fixed the water line this morning in Olive Street and Wesley.
Wesley was one I saw.
Right, but yes, so they move back and complete those streets. They do have a few streets downtown here, High Street and Solid Road Street and
Mars, South Mars.
Right, but that's
Commerce.
Commerce. Okay. Yes, that one, those will be fixed.
They're going to do that in Ward 1. But they are going to work through the winter on these days.
Yes, they are.
So what about for the major streets?
Major streets, actually the contractor would have started this week, but about the bad weather. So he's going to start working on his schedule. He got his schedule to start Monday.
So how are they going to do that? They going one street at a time?
Yes, sir. They're starting on Gallatin Street, and I think the next street that they're going to is
Raymond Road.
I'll have to look at
See everybody here throwing their beers out there.
Charles, I've got a question on Major Street. It's not the city. They took bids for that. We took bids. Somebody took bids for that in the summer.
Pearl Street patching. I mean, we bring a lot of people downtown. I'm sure you come in on Pearl Street. It's that little bit of patching y'all done.
That helps.
Well, Pearl Street's on the neighborhood street list.
If you can catch right where State Street goes, right before you go down the viaduct, there's a couple of little spots and at the bottom down. I mean, it's just those things are really kind of smoothing out some really rough pavement. But when you're riding people around, it sure makes it nice.
It does.
Well, you're always riding somebody around.
Go ahead.
You took bids in the summer, and the council approved the contract for the major streets there in like June or July. And the contract got signed in November. My question is, why does it take so long for a contract here to get signed when the supervisors do one in a week and a half and Madison County supervisors do one in a day? Why does the city of Jackson take 5 months to sign a contract?
Well, all I can tell you is we've got to look at our legal process, and that's typically where
it's hung up.
That's typically
but
where
the
it's hung
contract is in the contract documents. The contract, when you put it out for bid, it shows the contract. All you have to do is fill in the blank.
Well,
I mean, they should have already looked at it.
All I'm telling you is that we got to look at our legal process.
So it's hung up in legal.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, I know what lawyers can do to you. I understand that. But
these are lawyers on the payroll.
These lawyers on the payroll. But I mean, it's taken, and this in the same. This in the first time. That's just the most recent one. I was reading.
Just to put it in motion for you, you got to understand that Public Works, largest department in the city, we actually have 2 attorneys working on it, and they're both overworked.
Is the contract when you take bids? Is the contract in the bid document?
A basic contract is in the bid document, but you have to still go through negotiations. That's for every contract that we do. You start out
You
there.
negotiate after you take bids?
What's that?
Because what the council does,
You
the
would have a
council
scope that might not be
approves.
negotiable, but there are always T's and A's, terms and conditions, and some other things that have to be taken care of.
Yeah, the council doesn't
That takes a
approve
while.
the contract. The council approves
Spending
for the
$2.5 million.
contract to be
Yeah.
executed.
But if I bid on the contract, if I'm, who was the Superior, and I bid on that contract, and I bid $4.5 million, when I bid that contract, the document that I'm gonna sign is in that contract. I mean, the document's there, you gotta go put in Superior asphalt in Jackson, Mississippi, and $4.5 million, but what else do you have to do that takes?
But that's not all the time though. So, but in
Your
this
scope-
case,
your scope is going to be there, but you still have terms and conditions that could be negotiated and could be an issue.
yeah, I'm just talking about overall. Typically, I'll see a contract after council has approved it. I'm typically signing it a month, no more than a month later. Typically, no more than a
A
month
lot
later.
of the ones we've had in here, because I was going through these old minutes, and we told month after month after month, it's fixing to happen, and it's finally about 3 or 4 months later. And the answer I've always gotten from asking anybody is it's hung up in legal. But, you know, these bigger roads that you're talking about, when that council said in June or July, yes, they've had 4 or 5 good months to be out there paving that we lost because somewhere this contract's sitting out there and people are still riding on the crappy road saying, I thought y'all were fixing to fix this road. And if they're saying it to me, I know they're saying it to you, you know, with the council members. I mean, but it's not under our.
Is there some point of negotiations that are being allowed that should not be allowed? I mean, is that something y'all can do from the program management? You say, here's the contract, it's not negotiable.
What we
Yeah,
gonna
I was gonna say. I think we talked about that.
do, yeah,
and
what
then
we're
one-
gonna do, we're gonna talk to legal, and we're gonna see if we can streamline that process.
I mean, y'all would probably love it if you had less negotiating
So
points. you
James,
wouldn't
what we
have to
talked
deal with it.
about, was creating these standard contracts
Right.
that specifically for stuff like paving. Because after a while, there's so much negotiation that's going to happen. We know how much the asphalt's going to cost, and you know that. So we talked about what I talked to them about, and most other places do it. So it's not anything that's a novel idea. We probably the only ones who don't do this. Have these standard contracts specifically around paving and stuff. So it's almost like a chocolate factory. You put one in and one out. And it's just a matter of getting them eyeballed to make sure the stuff is there and signed. And Charles ain't waiting on me to send some over and sending subliminals.
These kind of standard contracts, especially on huge contracts, they start somewhere. So the first one you do, series that you do is may take some time. Then after that, if you've done those the year before, you're building off of that, and it's not taking long. It also helps when you're working on your contract language on our side. Just like you said, at the time, you're putting out the bid, you already should have some basics on mind. But while the bid is out, you're still, smoothing out what you want, what you need, and why you need it. And the more the companies that are involved, the more they get acclimated to what governmental requirements that we have. That's usually a lot of what flows.
Well, I wonder how much they're adding into their pricing, because they know they're not going to be able to get started.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, they tell them they need to do it this way because
It's got to be in their
how we
pricing.
have to do it based on what the law is, and they're not used to doing that, so they don't just take their word for it. So it's not just causing legal on our side, it gets causing legal on their side.
Wait. Y'all are the engineer for Hines County, right? If y'all award if Hines County awards a contract, they take bids on the road paving and award a contract, how long does it take them to get a contract signed and delivered?
Probably about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. They have the same legal requirements the city has.
Yeah, they don't have the same work that we have.
Yeah, they ain't paving streets. They just start doing it in
Yeah,
War
Yeah,
One.
they don't
Yeah, but if
have
they do,
contract
if they do pave streets around the county, I saw it, what made me reach this was I saw it in Madison County, they awarded one within 2 weeks.
We talking about Hines County. They ain't.
But I'm just saying that they
Madison
governmental, they
ain't
take
no news,
bids,
all
and they
of
sign a
them
contract.
And some differences as far as your numbers of curves they have, the other 88 requirements.
Let me ask this, does anybody like how long it takes to get it done?
So again, my point is what I asked James was because you're right. It's not. So when I say hung up in legal, I'm talking about between y'all lawyers. And what I'm saying, what I asked and sat down with IMS a few weeks ago, and the recommendation was, let's create a standard document. You talked about it being in the bid. So if it's if that scope is in the bid and it's time for, and if the council approves it, Charles and them have already affixed whatever those specs are to it. The contractor knows, nobody can debate it because you know what the tonnage is, you know what you're going to have to get done. And then James signs, initials it, and I sign it in
Yeah, that other part Charles is done before it goes over there to the council. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so once the council does it, seems like it ought to be done. I'm agreeing with you. I mean, I don't see why we're losing so much time. Because we would have those, and APAC would have had more time to pull off and go work on somebody else's street.
Well, I agree, and I think we got a solution to it with this.
It is.
With this.
Thank you.
All right, nothing to adjourn because we didn't officially start.
I'm gonna email you my. I don't have a